welcome back to the Orlando Regional Championships. Once again, my name is Joe Brown, and after that quick break, once again, my name is Maeve O'Rourke. I am joined by Joe Brown. Honestly, I'm also Joe Brown this weekend.
Did you just terrestrialize into me?
I terrestrialized into Joe Brown. I would like my lower name on the header to be changed to Joe Brown for the rest of the weekend. You can be me. Happy, good job on your first cast, Maeve. So impressed.
Yeah, very impressive. No, we're just having fun as they're getting ready for this matchup between Aaron Traylor and Brady Smith. And as we showcased before, we talked about before, two of the best players in North America. I think, you know, Aaron also just having like conversations with Aaron Traylor about Pokemon makes me feel like I'm just not even in the same world. He's just so smart. He thinks of the game in such a way that I just wasn't even thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron will be like, hey, Maeve, can we do a best of 3? He did this to me the other night. He absolutely crushed me in both games very quickly. I think he 4-0'd me in the first one. So, you know, I have a lot of faith in the caliber of player that both Aaron and Brady are. It takes a lot to win a regional championship. It takes a lot to get CP at a regional championship as well. Both of these trainers have won regionals. They are incredibly talented players, and they have a lot of experience under their belt. These are seasoned players. You know, well-seasoned, let them cook, I guess, is really, I think, going to be the phrase for this weekend. Either way, I am excited to see what both of these trainers kind of end up bringing. And I think at this point, too, we can kind of take a look over at the stage and take a look at both of these players who are ready to go. Again, you will be seeing Aaron Traylor on the left, Brady Smith on the right, and both of these trainers, they are bringing some really interesting Pokemon as well, Joe.
Yeah, I think this is really fun. The thing that floats out right to me is Aaron Traylor's Trick Room team. Our good friend Gabby Snyder and I have been practicing hardcore into Trick Room for these first 2 series of Scarlet and Violet, just trying to learn these matchups as well as we can. So I'm really excited to see Aaron's variant on it with the Hatterene, Armarouge, Indeedee Female, Brute Bonnet, Iron Hands, and Torkoal, compared to Brady Smith's team, which has a little bit more of a variety on their side with Fluttermane, Dragonite, Garganacl, Iron Hands, Iron Bundle, and Gothitelle. I think there are the 2 psychic types are what stand out here, right? I guess you have Hatterene too. So Indeedee Female, I should say, and Gothitelle are really what I'm interested in this matchup, because those are the supportive Pokemon that help the rest of the team operate successfully.
Yeah, I think something that's really interesting too, and with both of these teams, you're looking at something that has Shadow Tag, right? So you then have to be pretty mindful, but something that I think is kind of interesting to note as well is that Brady Smith has a couple of, I think, different techniques when you have that Shadow Tag that you don't always see. He isn't running Perish Trap.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's one of the, in a prior era with closed team sheets, I think you'd pretty much be mandatory to try to run a strategy like that just to keep it in your opponent's head as an option. But because of open team sheets, maybe Brady doesn't feel as it's as necessary of a strategy to try to run in this format, because people are going to be expecting it, because they're going to see it. It's going to be glaringly showing on the paper right there for the Perish Trap teams, or Perish Song and Shadow Tag there. So I want to see how Brady is able to adjust there. His speed tiers are kind of a little bit all over the place on Brady's side. You have some really strong Pokemon that operate under fast teams or in Tailwind, like a Fluttermane and Iron Bundle and Dragonite, like being faster, but then some of the slower Pokemon like Iron Hands and Garganacl, and then Gothitelle, obviously. So kind of having different options for different speed tiers on Brady's side.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really interesting, right? Is you do have this opportunity for some nice priority attacks, but you do have to deal with something like that Indeedee, and this is where we talked about Ice Spinner just a few minutes ago. There is an Ice Spinner, Dragonite is running Ice Spinner in this matchup, so you could probably see that as a strong lead here for Brady to bring, especially if you are trying to hard counter this opportunity for Trick Room, because that Indeedee lead with that Psychic Terrain, you already then waste a turn getting rid of the terrain. That Indeedee may still be free to do a couple of different things, whether that is bringing other Pokemon towards you, or, you know, maybe focusing them somewhere else. However, to start our first match of the day, it is the Gothitelle and the Dragonite versus the Indeedee and the Armarouge.
And this is a position that I'm sure Aaron is comfortable being in, because when he looks at the team sheet, he sees that Brady does not have Trick Room to reset the Twisted Dimensions. That's one popular strategy, is if Armarouge goes for Trick Room and you click it as well, the dimensions go back to normal and the speed tiers are normal. Gothitelle does have Taunt, but with redirection help from Indeedee Female, you can redirect that Taunt towards that slot, which lets Armarouge click Trick Room successfully. But that's actually not the strategy on turn 1.
Yeah, Indeedee instead is going to go for a Helping Hand, help this Armarouge do a ton of damage, but Ice Spinner from the Dragonite will go first into this. Indeedee is going to get rid of this Psychic Terrain. So if it was an Expanding Force, it will only be single target. However, it was already a single target move in that Armor Cannon, doing a ton of damage onto this Gothitelle. Still not enough to knock it out, and you take that defense and special defense drop in the next turn. Gothitelle as well going to eat its berry, heal up a little bit here.
That just shows how bulky Gothitelle is because of it, and there is the taunt that we were expecting from Brady's end there. So it's one of the strongest special defense Pokemon really in existence, and by taking a Helping Hand Armor Cannon, you put Aaron in a spot that you don't have Trick Room up, you don't have Psychic Terrain as well to boost your Psychic attacks, and you cannot switch out because neither of these Pokemon are Ghost types and they don't have a move like U-Turn or Volt Switch or something like that. Because of Gothitelle's Shadow Tag, your Aaron is kind of locked into the spot.
Yeah, and another Helping Hand. However, this time it is going to be on Brady's side of the field into that Dragonite. Dragonite going for an Ice Spinner. If this targets into the Indeedee, that should be plenty enough to knock out because it did almost 50% on that last turn, and it is. Indeedee not going to be able to set something like that Trick Room on this turn. Armarouge once again going for another Armor Cannon. It is not boosted with a Helping Hand, but Gothitelle is still able to hang on thanks to not having that Helping Hand boost. Is going to be able to probably cause a few more shenanigans if Aaron was looking to switch around.
Yeah, that Gothitelle, that Citrus Berry was just gigantic there by giving it enough HP on the prior turn to secure, to hang on the next turn. And now you're going to have to decide. Indeedee going down typically is not the end of the world for Trick Room teams because you want to try to let it go down and let your slower Trick Room Pokemon come in. But deciding between Brute Bonnet and Hatterene here in this matchup is no easy task because you have to, try to figure out what is going to help you next to your Armarouge, who's already had its defenses lowered and still cannot switch out as long as Gothitelle's on the field. Dragonite still is at full health at this point, so if Brady does want to switch it out to, kind of reset its attacks there, that is an option for him. But for now, that Gothitelle hanging on has really helped Brady a lot.
Yeah, I think it's something that has kind of put Aaron into a weird pin that I don't think he was expecting or really wanted to be in at this stage of the game. With so many slower Pokemon on his team, it definitely makes it a little bit tougher to kind of operate outside of that Trick Room mode, right? Hatterene's an interesting Pokemon because it has Magic Bounce. It can definitely redirect a lot of things, but however, there is going to be a Terra at the start of this turn. It looks like it is going to be a Terrestrialization on that Hatterene, who's going to Terra into the Water type, interestingly enough.
That's pretty cool there. Water does resist steel, so under a normal circumstance, those steel types would be really strong into it. I like this Terra.
Yeah, another Helping Hands from that Gothitelle into the Dragonite. Dragonite once again going for an Ice Spinner here, but into that Hatterene. Tanks it so well, not very effective. Expanding Force from this Armarouge into the Dragonite. Also doesn't do a ton of damage there, but Hatterene is able to get that Trick Room off that it has wanted so badly, and now the tides have changed for Aaron a little bit.
Hatterene was really safe to click Trick Room there because of Magic Bounce on as its ability. You can't taunt it, it's just going to come back at you there. So you knew Gothitelle was not going to be able to stop the Trick Room that turn, and it wasn't as much of a threat. Now, under these Twisted Dimensions, slower Pokemon are going to move first before the faster Pokemon, and this is the position that Aaron really wants to find his team in at most times. Of course, there is no Psychic Terrain, so the Expanding Force is only single target for Armarouge, but that Water Terra from Hatterene was really nice there because Dragonite being locked into Ice Spinner is an Ice attack and the Water typing resisting ice, so you know it's really not going to do too much damage. And because he is locked into Ice Spinner, now Dragonite's really forced to switch out, and with no terrain, he can come back in later on and try to click those Choice Band E-Speeds.
Yeah, Fluttermane comes in here, is going to get hit by a Psychic, does 50% of its damage. Gothitelle also firing back with a Psychic into that Hatterene, does end up taking a pretty nice chunk of damage there. Armarouge with that Expanding Force, 2 Psychic type moves into that Fluttermane. Double up is not enough to get that KO. Armarouge, though, does finally end that taunt as well.
That was so close to two Pokemon that are just barely hanging on at this point. Fluttermane, one of the fastest Pokemon in the format, is not really happy with facing down against the Trick Room team here. If the Psychic Terrain was up, that would help Armarouge be able to hit both of the Pokemon, but instead he's going to have to try to go 1-for-1 in both of his attacks with Hatterene and Armarouge. Is there a way for Brady to preserve long enough for when Trick Room is over, maybe by doing different protects or situations like that, getting a point that Fluttermane can continue being the fastest Pokemon on the field, and that's what Brady is going to have to go for.
Yeah, Fluttermane protecting. The Gothitelle does not actually have Protect, so it is still going to take damage from this Dazzling Gleam from the Hatterene, which is a really safe call because both of those Pokemon were absolutely in range of getting knocked out. You have finally handled this Gothitelle, which Aaron really kind of let sit for a while because it wasn't able to do enough to either Pokemon on your side of the field. Expanding Force into that Fluttermane does not go through that Protect, does not take any damage.
Yep, and then, so Dragonite is going to come back in here. You don't care about the Trick Room when you have Extreme Speed. You have increased priority while using it, and typically those Dragonites will also Terrasilize into a normal type, so you get the same type attack bonus for it. Also, do want to mention in the moment that Aaron is currently up 1-0 over Brady, as one of the things happening as they were getting this game set was there was an error on Brady Smith's team, so it resulted in a Game 1 loss. So we are in Game 2 currently of this set.
Yeah, Hatterene is protecting this turn, trying to not take something like an Extreme Speed, a great protect, as that Dragonite did target on into it. However, I think at this point, Fluttermane going for that Shadow Ball is not gonna, is gonna still do a nice chunk of damage, but Brute Bonnet is just so bulky. It has such a great typing into that Fluttermane, and Fluttermane is going to get knocked out at this point as well.
Yeah, the dark typing there is really nice. Fluttermane is, or excuse me, Brute Bonnet is seen typically as a more offensive version of Amoonguss. In its prehistoric days, has a lot more aggressive play style to it. But being the dark typing, as Fluttermane was using its ghost attack there, was really strong. Now you're at a point where if Brute Bonnet wants, he can also have access to Spore or Rage Powder, just like an Amoonguss can in this situation. There is both Spore and Rage Powder. If you want to keep Hatterene around, just try to redirect those Extreme Speeds into the Brute Bonnet slot instead.
Yeah, Iron Hands also switching in here does bring an electric type into the fray that can do super effective damage onto the Hatterene, as well as having the opportunity to go for Fake Out. Hatterene will switch out here, not trying to take either any damage or maybe getting faked out. Armarouge coming in is still at full HP, and all of those stat drops are now reset. Fake Out into that Brute Bonnet, Extreme Speed from the Dragonite into the Armarouge. He takes that pretty well, actually. Brute Bonnet not able to move this turn, and the Twisted Dimensions return to normal, so now Trick Room is ended.
Yeah, but at this point, Dragonite does not really need Trick Room in either scenario. If with the Choice Band locking in to Extreme Speed, you're going to be clicking that every single turn. Iron Hands is one of those Pokemon that is really bulky, but you used Fake Out on that last turn of Trick Room there, so now you don't have access to it here to try to stop a Rage Powder from Brute Bonnet. So without that priority Fake Out to stop it, Brute Bonnet can try to redirect these Extreme Speeds towards its slot to leave Armarouge safe, which by switching back in this spot doesn't have those defense drops anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have access to things like Expanding Force, which can do that super effective damage onto that bulky Iron Hands. Iron Hands as well, I think, is probably not feeling as comfortable. It would maybe want to switch out. However, there is finally going to be a Terra on Brady's side. It is going to be that Iron Hands as well. And this Iron Hands is Terra Grass, which is a great way to avoid Rage Powders and Spores from the Amoonguss on the opposing side and allow you to do damage into really whatever slot you choose. Extreme Speed from the Dragonite into the Armarouge does a good amount of damage. Is not enough to get that knockout though, so this Armor Cannon, a fire type move into a grass type Pokemon, does super effective damage into that Iron Hands. You do take those drops there, but really what a great call to make if you're Aaron. Brute Bonnet Spore goes into that Dragonite. No more Extreme Speeds for at least one more turn, Joe.
Wow, what a play by Aaron, not getting baited, knowing that he has the access. His Armarouge gets knocked out, seeing, because of open team sheets, that Brady can Terra Grass whenever he wants on the Iron Hands. You don't want to try to Spore or Rage Powder into that slot. And also, sure, you Grass Terra to avoid the Expanding Force being super effective, but then it also let Armor Cannon be super effective into that Iron Hand slot there. So I liked the adaptation there, as most people would have assumed you would just Terrasilize Dragonite in this scenario. But now the Dragonite has to be asleep on this turn. It really is not providing a lot of offense here, and Aaron can try to target down this Iron Hand slot, which is the threat on this turn.
Yeah, I think something that's really interesting, though, is Hatterene is going to be one of the slowest Pokemon on the field, so it may still struggle with this Iron Hands. Dragonite will stay asleep. Crunch from the Brute Bonnet, though, is not enough to get the knockout. So Wild Charge from this Iron Hands into the Hatterene is definitely going to knock itself out thanks to that recoil, but I think that is still a huge thing to survive that hit, not get knocked out, and then be able to take the damage onto the Pokemon that is the biggest threat to your Dragonite on the opposite side of the field.
Yeah, that was a Brady has had some really crucial survives in this match, both times with Got the Tail and then Iron Hands on that turn, because if he was able to get knocked out, then it would be a 2-on-1 against this sleeping Dragonite, and you'd feel a lot stronger, especially with your Fairy type in Hatterene there. So with just Brute Bonnet versus Dragonite, once Dragonite eventually wakes up, he's going to have those Choice Band Extreme Speeds to use on its side. Brute Bonnet does not have a Citrus Berry or leftovers or anything to recover in for Aaron's HP. So it's really up to Brute Bonnet's Crunch, because the Bullet Seed is going to be resisted in this matchup. Can Dragonite just stay asleep and let Brute Bonnet knock it out? No.
You're in this weird mental game at this point, right? Where you probably end up clicking Spore until it wakes up. Go for a Bullet Seed once it has taken its confirmed turn of sleep. But now you have another turn of sleep here, so another Spore. And every time you click Spore, it could have been two crunches. It could have been a Bullet Seed. It could have been a lot of things. Dragonite does wake up here, though. Is that Extreme Speed this turn? Brute Bonnet does take a lot of damage. It cannot take more than one of those. It is going to get the Spore off this turn, have the opportunity to go for something like a Crunch on the next turn and start doing damage.
And now Aaron has to rely on 2-3 turns of sleep because he got it the first time around, and it's very tough to rely on those situations. Obviously, it is possible. We have seen Aaron win like 2% chance games last year in Salt Lake City in top 4, so it is possible.
He got the other sleep, so now this Crunch does have a chance. I didn't see exactly how much damage it did. It is enough to get the knockout, and that means that Aaron Traylor has won. Already having one game win from a technicality earlier means that he is going to move on from this round, and those are always the really exciting end games where you know it's really just kind of a percentile chance.
It's out of your hands at that point if you think about it. On both Aaron and Brady's sides, they both played that game really well, positioning a lot. That game went a lot more turns than you would necessarily expect with a hyper offense team like Brady's having there, or with those Trick Room attackers on Aaron's side. So I think that was just really well played in that game from both of them. And at that point, when you're just relying on sleep turns and having the Crunch there from Brute Bonnet shows why a lot of people want to opt for Amoonguss on their teams. You saw in the stats earlier that it's super prevalent, but Brute Bonnet in these Trick Room teams has great defensive typing for Flutter Mane on the Shadow Ball switch in there, and then also is just so much more of a prevalent attacker than its modern day part in a version in Amoonguss, I should say.
Something that's also interesting is Brute Bonnet is faster than Amoonguss by quite, by a pretty decent amount. So you can still do some pretty good damage and outspeed some of those Pokemon that may thrive in Trick Room, Gives you a little bit more opportunity. But I really loved the way that Aaron positioned for that end game. At first, we were like, he didn't get the Trick Room up. This feels a little sketchy. Moving into this turn, you lose the Indeedee, you lose Psychic Terrain. Expanding Force is only going to be a single target move. But that Hatterene coming in, having a great defensive Terra typing in water, meant that it could get that Trick Room up and allow for its partner Pokemon to flourish and get himself into a board state that really made the end game as good of a chance as he had, even if he was relying on those sleep turns.
Yeah, I think most people, when you see the Terra Water on Hatterene, you would assume it is for Steel types, that would be the most common attack into it. But just so happened in this set, it actually was really valuable against Ice Spinner when Dragonite was choice locked into that attack, resisting those. And I think the play of that match for me was when he decided to Terra Grass on Iron Hands, because it kind of worked, but then it didn't because Aaron outsmarted him with Armor Cannon instead of Expanding Force into that slot. And what it meant was Brady did not have access to the Terastallizing on Dragonite to have its stronger attacks later on for the Brute Bonnet, one-on-one.
That is really interesting, right? Because that is the power of an open team sheet format. That is the power of knowing my opponent has Terra Grass on their Iron Hands. I am running a Pokemon that is a Fire type. I can do that super effective damage. I need to make this call right, or else I am taking a special defense and a defense drop and not doing nearly as much damage as I could have done with something like Expanding Force. So I think that is really a testament to how these players have to think several turns ahead before they can make these big moves. And, you know, they're making a bit of a gamble here, but Aaron was already up one game, so it might have felt like a safer gamble to make in that particular moment.
Yeah, that is a good point, that Aaron had a lot more wiggle room in that set by having the prior, by being given the prior game win there. So if he did mess up and went for the Armor Cannon and Iron Hands didn't terrestrialize, it's not as bad of a situation for Aaron as it would have been for Brady for making the wrong call there. But I think that really was just a showcase of, it's not necessarily the right or wrong decisions. You have access to information and you have to try to do what's best for your team. It's not like I have to make the exact correct 100% call or I lose instantly. Like, that was one of those matches where it's not like either trainer made any wrong decisions. They just both played to their outs very well. And in the end, the last correct thing that was done was on Aaron's side.
Yeah, and of course, you're kind of hoping for that sleep to last as long as possible. Aaron did get more than just one turn of sleep, which I think really kind of sealed the deal for him. I think it was nice how patient he was, continuing to click Spore, knowing he could at least tank one extreme speed, and then get at least bare minimum one turn of crunch, and then possibly have enough for another. It was a really, I think, a nice way to show how well he knows his Pokemon. And with that, we are actually going to be tossing over back to the couch where Adam, actually, you know what? You know, I think at this point, right? Adam is going to be taking us to the interview with Aaron, our winner of that last round.
Thank you very much, Maeve. Thank you very much, Joe. Fantastic job on the desk, as always. I am joined with our winner from round number 3, Aaron Traylor, somebody I've known a long time.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
For having me. Thank you for having me, Adam. It's a pleasure, and I'm just, you know, it's great to be here.
Yeah. Let's dive right in.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got new rules for Series 2, and you picked a team that we kind of alluded to and talked about at the top of the day.
Yeah,
I know
sure.
you team build with some fantastic players.
Yes.
How did you guys end up settling on that team in particular?
That's a great question. So I was in panic mode. So I had something, you know, I'm a grad student, so I had a big milestone on Tuesday, so I couldn't devote that much time beforehand. I was still like freaking out, like, what team do I want? You know, I was trying everything. You know, if you played VGC, like, you might have had this feeling like you're trying everything and none of it feels right, and I was in that mode. But I knew like the pieces of what I liked. You know, I liked Fluttermane, I liked Arcanine, I liked Amoonguss, and I liked Iron Hands together. And so I realized that I was really weak to Mousehold and Annihilate, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I could fit Indeedee on that team and add Brute Bonnet. And add Belly Drum on my Iron Hands. Like, so then I would have 2 Rage Powder and Follow Me and Belly Drum. Super sick. And then I realized, like, my friend Jake Major, who's won a regional in 2019, he was running like a psychic team similar to the team that Alex Soto got 2nd place at Liverpool regionals with. And I was like, wait, why don't we just work together? So we did, and now I'm like here, and it's great, and I'm really happy.
Yeah, so panic mode, how many teams would you say in that panic mode window, how many do you think you went through? 10, 20,
Yeah, that's
30?
a great question. Yeah, like 30 probably. Like, just the worst is when you, like, in your notes, right, you're writing in your notebook, like, you write down like the same 5 or 6 Pokemon, just like cross one out, write another one, like, oh no, not Dragapult, let's try Hydreigon. And then, like, you know, it's 2 in the morning and you're like, what am I doing with my life, you know? And that was what happened. But I'm very happy at where I am now. Like, I love this team. The team, so I named my battle box Mimikyu Snorlax, or just Mimlax, because, you know, it's character limit. Because it reminds me of the team that I built with Angel Miranda and Gavin Michaels in 2017, with featuring Z-Power, Destiny Bond Mimikyu, and Snorlax with Belly Drum. And I love that team, and I'm loving it here today. I hope I can keep playing well.
Yeah, well, I haven't spoken to you in a while, actually, but I've known you for a very long time.
Yeah, it's true.
Times has changed since we played, and we were, you know, back then. There's a couple of things I want to get your opinion on. As a top trainer, it's, you know, we've moved to this open team sheet, which is something that we never got to experience.
No, we didn't.
That was very different to, say, 2010.
Yeah.
And, of course, we've got all the new mechanics with the Terra typing.
Yeah.
Of those two, which do you think is kind of the most important for playing at these tournaments?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will say Terra typing, like, just makes it so much different. Like, you really have to understand, like, the, like, when you're going to change your Terra, when you're going to, like, you know, call your opponents. It makes it really hard. Open team sheets make it much nicer to play in these regionals because you're not worrying if your opponent could have, you know, like, Belly Drum on their Iron Hands, you know. Like that's not something you have to play around. So it is. It's really nice.
Yeah. Would you rather have open team sheet or the 2010 style where you could change your items? And
Oh yeah. I would much rather have open team sheet. It's so nice. Yeah. No. I was worried, that we'd be able to change items and stuff, but yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to fit all these guys in the frame with me. Yeah. No. It's really nice open team sheet. I hope we have it forever. Please.
Yeah, I mean, get yourself comfortable.
Oh yeah, it's
totally
great back
fine.
here. This is a really comfy couch.
It's not bad, is it? It's
Yeah,
not bad at all.
I'm here with my friends.
So I guess I'll ask you an uncomfortable question.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you want to reveal this to the rest of the room.
Yeah.
Is there anything you just don't want to play with this Trick Room team?
Yeah, my friends, I guess. Like, the issue with this Trick Room team is it's got so much. Like, adding Belly Drum and a couple of redirectors really changes how it's going to function. Like, if you're good against Indeedee and Armor Rouge, like, you might have to worry about Follow Me in Belly Drum. And if you didn't think about that before this regional, you are done. You're toast. Like, it's just unfortunate, but like, so yeah, I guess like other Indeedee Armor Rouge teams, like it gets a little weird and wacky because we're all using Psychic moves, and Psychic is pretty strong against Iron Hands, so it's tough. But yeah, I guess like nothing else really. Oh yeah, there's this great Tusk Gothitelle team that's running around I wouldn't want any piece of. So yeah.
I don't condone
You don't
that
condo-
team.
You don't condone the Tusk?
I don't like either of the Tusks.
Oh,
I think
got
I respect
Yes.
them, but I wouldn't put them in my own
Yes.
personal team build.
You're a Tusk tutter. You tut at the Tusks.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
That works. I'll go with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Thinking about that, I mean, I think through this conversation you've mentioned about 12 different Paradox Pokemon though. Obviously that came in merely a couple days ago. I know everyone was practicing with it a little bit beforehand.
Yep.
You seem big on the Iron Hands, you seem big on the Brute Bonnet, but if you had to pick one to perform best this weekend, which one are you going with?
Well, I mean, they're like, I saw the slides earlier before the stream. They're like 50% of the field has an Iron Hands.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Who let that happen?
Well, it's the other like 49% of people.
Yeah,
who,
yeah,
kept it
exactly.
there.
So I guess like Iron Hands definitely, like I think they're all really cool. Like the only one that kind of struggles, I think, is Iron Thorns and Slitherwing. Like, they don't have as much going for them as the other ones, but like I'm sure, like there's, something maybe. Then like I want to see them all used really cool, right? Like I want to see a good Iron Valiant team. If you're watching at home and you're from Europe, go make me an Iron Valiant team.
Why Europeans? Are they
Well,
just
because
better
then I don't
team
have to
builders?
play them. Well, yeah, yes, but then I don't have to play them at regionals, and I can like watch their regionals and like take it from them.
Okay, that's a very good policy.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
actually
you.
a Slitherwing apologist.
Oh yeah, really?
I
It's
just haven't-
cute.
It looks great. I haven't found the way to crack it yet and put it in one of those teams. So
Yeah.
still working on that a little bit.
Well,
but, we'll
yeah,
get there.
yeah, no. I like Slitherwing is the cutest of the Paradox Pokemon.
100%.
It's Slitherwing and then Brute Bonnet. Did you know that Brute Bonnet, when it walks along the ground, it doesn't like walk on all, it's got 4 legs. It doesn't walk on all 4s. It kind of like hops around.
But are you putting Brute Bonnet above Screamtail?
Yeah, Screamtail, oh my god, it's a jump scare of a Pokemon. You get down there in that area 0, and it's like, oh my god, it's a Jigglypuff, cute. No, it's not a Jigglypuff. It's here to eat you. Traumatized. Traumatized.
So does that, let's say you're at the table, right?
Yes.
Let's say you're chilling, you see that team sheet come down.
Yeah.
Is that a problem for you? Do you?
No, no. What is a problem for me is if they have mouse hold.
Okay.
No, because here's why. Because I love mouse hold so much, and when it faints, I just get so sad. Like I've been playing for like a while, and I usually try and like separate how cute the Pokemon are from like my competitive usage. But honest to God, I don't know if I could put mouse hold on a team, and like not be like, yeah, I don't think I could team build with mouse hold. Like I just get too sad when it faints.
So okay, but if you did team build with mouse hold, did you think that would impact your like style of play, right? Like your whole
I would
angle
save
is
it.
just
I would
defend
say
the
it would be
mouse hold.
it would be a Saving Private Ryan kind of situation. Like we would get that mouse hold home no matter what it took.
What you could do, this is just a theory, you could bring it on the team, but then never bring it to the matches, so it never gets knocked out, but it's just there for like moral support.
Yeah, no, that's a good call.
Yeah.
I wish I were good enough of a team builder to do something like that, like to build like a team with 5 Pokemon and then like have a vanity pick in the last one. I've always wanted to do that, and it could be mouse hold, it could be tandem mouse.
I think there's room for expression because the teams this weekend, like some of them I'm just like, where have you guys got this idea from?
Yeah.
I think once again we're the first regional of this like new version of the format. We obviously were the first Scarlet Violet regional as well. And looking kind of forward, I know you've played a number of years. Is this like one of the seasons you really want to go for it?
Yeah,
and build just a ton of different teams and
yeah,
play?
I mean, I'm having fun. You know, it's hard to balance school and and Pokemon, but I'm having fun. So you're probably gonna see me in a lot more of these. You know, we'll see. Like I do get kind of like it's kind of kind of lonely. Like I was like, oh, I'm leaving for another Pokemon tournament. Like I wish I could hang out with my friends at school. But then I come here and there's so many kind people. Like, you know, I've been doing this for like 12 years. Like everyone's just kind to each other. So I really, I'm very excited for the rest of the season. And Worlds is in Yokohama. That's great.
That's a crazy venue.
Yeah, I hope I qualify. Like I'd love to play there. Yeah, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, we were looking at the standings earlier. It's like 300 is definitely a little bit different. You know, obviously we've got less events, so I think we're gonna have some fantastic players there as well.
Oh yeah, totally. And everyone's so good now. Like, in the past couple of years, people have really like competitive Pokemon on the internet has kind of exploded, and it used to be, when we played, when Adam and I first went, your first couple of rounds of these tournaments, like people like didn't know how to train their Pokemon maximally effectively. But now, like, everyone has, like, a team. Like, if you don't know how to, like, train your Pokemon, like, efficiently, you can just take a team from someone on YouTube, and you'll probably do great. And, like, everyone's working really hard. Everyone wants to be the world champion, and, like, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tougher than ever.
The competition has been kind of crazy and getting crazier. Like you say, I don't know, I met you in 2011.
Yes.
At the World Championships.
Yes.
And the Masters division only had, for VGC at least, I believe it was like 40 some odd players.
Yeah.
And now I look at the World Championships with multiple days, multiple tournaments.
Oh my God. It's a whole production.
It's different.
Yeah, no, it's really different. I was 14 then. That's crazy. I wasn't shorter because I haven't grown since then, but
you've grown a bit.
I've grown emotionally. And that's, when you think about it, like, because of Pokemon, of course.
That's true.
That's right.
Hey, it's a good thing. You've definitely grown a little bit. You obviously gone from seniors to masters and fantastic plays.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, early regionals, it's kind of your thing. If we look back at Sword and Shield.
Oh gosh, that's tough.
Does that add any pressure
You win one first Sword and Shield regional, and you hear that all the time. Like, I just want to do well at every tournament I go to. Like, I feel good here because I've got a team that I really like, that I feel really comfortable on. Like, these two redirect Pokemon, Indeedee and Brute Bonnet, and the Iron Hands Belly Drum, like, that's comfort for me. I'm like, really loving these games so far. But like San Diego, like, that was also an early format tournament, and I didn't do so great. So it's just like, I try and like make each performance like really just, just the performance. Like I try and go out there and put on a show, like what we're doing right now,
Just that one event at a time. And speaking of that event, I'll let you get back to it. I know there's a lunch break.
I gotta go eat.
To hydrate, to eat, and get ready. But thank you so much for joining me, taking the time to chat. And before you go, I'll just let you know, don't tell the others, but you're my favorite.
Oh, I won't.
Yeah, keep that to yourself.
Okay. No, you hear that? You hear that, everyone? Don't tell them.
Don't spread that one around.
Thank you.
That said, we'll be right back with more action here in Orlando.